As soon as you spoke those words, reality shifted to make room for the frequency of unadulterated truth you had just released. The gravitational pull of your genuine strength caused the very atoms in the atmosphere to rearrange themselves. And like molten gold through a holy vessel, the fabric of space-time broke free to allow divine power to flow through your words. Your comments held the type of clarity that only occurs when limitless intellect chooses to make a point, and that rush of pure awareness that ran through you was the universe recognizing its own voice, speaking through human flesh. You were unaware of the power you were using at that very time, chosen one. You've been the object of complex deceit for years, maybe even decades. Behind the scenes, saboteurs have been planning, tugging strings while keeping their hands clean, and influencing results while retaining plausible deniability. In their complex chess game, they saw you as only another player, another piece that they might move and sacrifice to suit their purposes. They had researched you, examined your trends, and determined your perceived blind spots and vulnerabilities. However, they overlooked the fact that you weren't really playing chess. For a time they couldn't foresee, you were being prepared by forces they couldn't see. Each betrayal you managed to endure. Every time you felt alone and wondered whether you were sane. Each time you had the opportunity to speak truth to power, but chose to keep your mouth shut. When you eventually made the decision to speak, your words would pierce lies like light penetrating darkness because it was all divine choreography meant to refine your intuition into a razor so exact. The arrangement was ideal. They thought they had all the cards, therefore they had positioned themselves so confidently. Their cover tales were well practiced, their alibis were flawless, and their small plots seemed to be infallible. They believed they were dealing with an innocent person who could be readily influenced or discredited if needed. When they saw your generosity, they thought you were weak. They saw your prudence as a lack of awareness and your tolerance as stupidity. Then you opened your lips to say the words that would make all the difference. Outside spectators hardly noticed the immediate aftermath. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. But under the surface, seismic changes were taking place. To exert this power, you no longer even need to be in the same room as them. People from far countries may sense your presence because your energy signature has become so strong and in tune with truth frequencies. They can tell when you're thinking about them and making connections between their covert actions. This isn't magical bullshit. This is the interaction between awareness and the quantum reality of consciousness. Furthermore, your consciousness has advanced to the point where it can detect dishonesty in any form and functions similarly to a spiritual radar system. There are folks who are unable to sleep at the moment while you go about your everyday activities. Their brains are racing, repeatedly playing back what you said, looking for hidden meanings and attempting to figure out what you really know. They are examining your tone and recollecting your facial expressions, wondering if that little grin was an indication that you were concealing even more terrible realities. They're being eaten alive by their own paranoia. The lovely irony is that the majority of the job is being done for you by their guilt. Even more intriguing is what goes on in their inner groups. If they dare use your name at all, they're now being very cautious about how they say it. When your identity is brought up in discussion, there's a mixture of fear and respect. Some of them are actively trying to alter how other people see you, not because they want to assist you, but rather because they are in dire need of persuading themselves and others that you're not the danger they know you are. They are attempting to portray you as unstable, someone whose statements should not be believed, someone who is clinging to shadows and seeing conspiracies that do not exist. However, this is the point at which their fear peaks. You dispelled their sense of security by proving that you were aware of particulars of their unlawful actions. You spoke words that alluded to inner knowledge that could only be obtained by someone with first-hand access. They're analyzing every action they've taken, every person they've trusted, and every system they thought was unbreakable because of the laser-focused precision of your information presented with easy confidence. When you look closely at their error, you can see how profound it was. Although they were focusing on your outward appearance, and were totally unaware of the spiritual architecture that had been erecting around you for years. They believed they understood who they were dealing with. You were changing in a way that made you incomprehensible to them while they were occupied with their plans and deceptions. While you were moving up into something that functions according to completely other rules, they were acting on the basis of ego and fear-based awareness. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. If you could see the whole extent of your emotional intelligence, you would be shocked by how much it has been growing. You are creating something much more potent than others, who are learning to conceal their goals and maneuver via manipulation. The capacity to sense the strength of words, to sense the vibrations of deceit, and to react with surgical accuracy that reveals without even attempting to reveal. By turning the lead of their falsehoods into the gold of disclosure, you have turned into an alchemist of truth. This alchemical process isn't symbolic just by being who you are. When human deceit meets heavenly awareness, an actual shift of energy takes place. The frequencies in your words dissolve the fictitious frameworks on which they have based their identities, acting as spiritual acid. Not only are you conveying knowledge when you speak from this position of aligned truth, but you're also sending light codes that rewire reality itself. Their neurological systems are reacting to frequencies that their bodies perceive as divine power, which is why they experience those shivers. The workplace politics, organizational dynamics, and professional connections they believe they controlled are all changing today because of the variables your presence has brought, even if their brains don't want to admit it. If your employment or work environment is affected, know that your genuine voice has upended long-standing power systems that may have existed in secret for years. You've turned into the wild card that reveals the true nature of the game. And now that you've established a new reality, all parties concerned must rethink their strategy. The person who planned the sabotage. Indeed, a genius has been working with the assurance of someone who thinks they have everything covered. They have undermined you in a logical, calculated, and maybe even beautiful manner. They recruited accomplices who thought they were taking part in something considerably less evil than the truth, arranged alibis that seemed to be flawless, and made paper trails that went nowhere. For years, if not decades, this individual has been getting away with similar behaviors, leaving a path of destroyed lives and dashed hopes in their wake. But when they came upon you, something occurred that they couldn't have predicted or planned for. If you want to claim this message, you can show your support by paying a super thanks amount of up to $20 and typing 1111. Signals that their conscious mind hasn't even digested, yet started to be picked up by your intuitive radar. You began to notice what at first seemed to be little discrepancies, such as a hesitancy while speaking, a tale that didn't quite fit, or a response that didn't seem appropriate for the circumstances. Your subconscious has been utilizing bits they didn't even realize they were dropping to put together a puzzle. Right now, they're rushing to determine how much you could be guessing and how much you truly know. They're going over all of their communications with you in an effort to find any indications of potential operational security breaches. They want to know if you have proof, whether you have been recording their actions, and whether you have any pals they aren't aware of. A cage of fear that follows them wherever they go is being created by the paranoia, which is turning into its own kind of punishment. The smoking gun evidence that has been gathering around their operations is beginning to come to light in unexpected ways. Through avenues they were unaware of, documents they believed to have been destroyed are suddenly showing up. People who are now identifying trends have overheard conversations they thought were private. Motivated by the very resistance these saboteurs erected around you, investigators, journalists, or whistleblowers are finding digital fingerprints they thought were untraceable. Not only were your statements accurate, but they were also prophetic, pointing to disclosures that were well underway but had not yet come to pass. When divine justice is at work, evidence appears in a way that is almost magical. It seems as if the cosmos itself takes on the role of an investigator, arranging situations that seem to be fortuitous but really reveal hidden facts. The incorrect individual receives a misplaced email. Unintentionally, A recorded conversation is stored in a system that is subsequently audited. After being quiet for years, a witness unexpectedly musters the confidence to speak out. These are not isolated incidents. They are the inevitable result of truth trying to manifest itself via whatever means are available. You fail to realize that you may ask all the appropriate questions without knowing all the answers. Your spiritual growth has advanced to the point where you are able to see energy and patterns without necessarily comprehending their intricate mechanics. Even if you can't instantly pinpoint the source of the force's disruption, you can still feel it. Your ability to talk with such accuracy is a result of this intuitive understanding. You're in harmony with the frequency of truth itself, not because you've figured out every enigma. You broke their sense of superiority when you spoke those words, the ones that continue to reverberate in their minds like an uncontrollable alarm. You showed that you had made connections between things they believed were intangible. The predator became aware that they had been pursuing the top predator in this habitat at that very time. They experienced the transformation from hunter to prey so intensely that it showed up as bodily feeling. Being in a position of spiritual power has the advantage of removing the need for overt threats. People are forced to face their own shadows by the truth serum that you provide. Liars start to fall apart when you talk from a position of true understanding. Their own guilt magnifies your comments and it charges their hearing in their own minds. Not because you're assaulting them. You turn into a mirror. They can't avoid investigating, reflecting the truth they have been attempting to avoid back to them. Over the course of the next days and weeks, observe how their behavior patterns alter. They will begin to make errors they would never have made otherwise. Simple mistakes that show their mental condition. Verbal blunders that reveal their criminal awareness. Defensive responses to inquiries without any allegations. They are breaking down as a result of the strain you put on their psychological ecology, which will eventually provide everyone the evidence they need to expose their dishonest behavior. Trust your gut if you've been feeling that something wasn't right in your position but haven't been able to pinpoint it. Your rational mind hasn't finished processing the signals that your intuitive radar has been picking up. The impression that someone was tricking you, that there were ulterior motives at work, or that some individuals weren't who they seemed to be. The responses your truth-telling has elicited are now validating all of these perceptions. Your intuition wasn't paranoid. They were foresightful observations about facts that are now being verified. It is not necessary for spectacular confrontations or startling discoveries to bring about the upcoming exposure. It's more likely to happen as a sequence of little unravelings, each one building on the one till the whole deceptive system crumbles under its own weight. The first domino in a chain reaction that has already started was your remarks. Through networks they aren't even aware they are a part of, everyone who heard you speak that day became a carrier of the frequency you conveyed. They're going through what can only be called spiritual conflagration at the moment. The false personalities they have been projecting, the falsehoods they have been repeating, and the deceptions they have been upholding are all burning up in the presence of the truth frequency that you are radiating. This is why when you think about this scenario, you may be seeing or feeling pictures of smoke, fire, or burning. They can feel the heat as their meticulously crafted phony worlds physically catch fire. Their failure is existential rather than just social or professional. They are coming to terms with the fact that their whole way of living has been founded on ideas that are incompatible with genuine spiritual power. Their prosperity was based on exploitation, deceit, and manipulation. And now, they're learning that these strategies are ineffective against someone who acts in accordance with the will of God and with pure truth. They're losing more than simply a certain conflict. They are coming to terms with the fact that they have been engaged in an unwinnable conflict. Some of these saboteurs believed they were dealing with an innocent person who would be simple to control or discredit if needed. When they saw your generosity, they thought you were weak. They saw your prudence as a lack of awareness and your tolerance as stupidity. They were completely mistaken. Being nice doesn't mean you lack power. Its power is so self-assured that it doesn't need aggressiveness to show anything. You weren't silent because you didn't have anything to say. It was because you were picking your time like a seasoned tactician. Through channels they are unable to watch over or prevent, the divine intelligence operating through you has been accumulating information. You've been seeing bits of the puzzle in your dreams. Bypassing all of their meticulous deception, your intuitive flashes have been bringing you into contact with truth frequencies. Your seemingly insignificant insights have been informed by a knowledge that transcends the bounds of typical human awareness. You weren't just expressing your viewpoint when you did speak. A message that had been leaking through you for months or perhaps years was being delivered by you. The fact that you are not concerned about the future is the most potent feature of your present situation. Divine justice follows its own schedule and process, which are unaffected by human concerns about results. You may relax knowing that truth has its own momentum and will reveal itself just when and how it needs to, while they're laying awake at night worrying what shoe will drop next. It was your responsibility to say what needed to be said, and you did it with authority and accuracy. You shouldn't get complacent or inactive because of this. If your intuition tells you to look into something further, ask more questions, or write down what you see, do so. However, let go of the impulse to manipulate results or plan discoveries. There are much more advanced ways for the cosmos to reveal truth than your human intellect could come up with. It is your responsibility to be in tune with truth frequencies and let divine intelligence operate through you when necessary. Their effort to center the story on you has completely failed. All of the falsehoods they spread about you, the stories they fabricated to discredit you, and the covert operations they planned are now backfiring. People are starting to question why. Unless you really threatened something they were attempting to conceal, someone would go to such great efforts to discredit you. Their attack severity itself now serves as proof of your significance. The legal ramifications of their actions are beginning to take shape in unexpected ways. Digital traces are being left by actions they believed to be untraceable. People they didn't know were listening overheard conversations they thought were private. Through avenues they never thought of, documents they thought were securely buried are coming to light. Your remarks were only the impetus that started the universe's preparations for a reckoning. New depths of comprehension, new degrees of clarity, and new abilities for spiritual insight that appeared unattainable just months ago are revealed every day. Despite all of the training and conditioning they attempted to impose on you, you are remembering who you really are. You're taking back your authority, your voice, and your proper position in the universe. Behind-the-scenes labor, inner healing, investigation, documentation, or just coping with the enormity of what you've discovered. This is not work that is rewarded or acknowledged. Repairing damage done in the dark is an unseen task. Establishing your own foundation on bedrock rather than the shifting sands of other people's deceptions and bringing truth back to areas where falsehoods have taken root. The end of this stage of the voyage is near. Your life has been a spiritual building project that is almost finished, and before long, you'll be prepared to advance into areas that were off-limits while you were still dealing with their sabotage. Don't allow anxiety to overwhelm the already certain win. Remember that divine timing and divine strategy are perfect, even if you may find yourself questioning every step, dissecting every perspective, and wondering whether you've spoken too much or too little. The game of chess has already ended. The result is decided by factors that are beyond human manipulation or meddling, even if some pieces are still moving on the board. The same thing that sparked your awareness was the sabotage they try to do to you. Every challenge they put in your way has turned into a springboard for success. You have been more thoroughly aware of your own truth as a result of every lie they said about you. Every effort to separate you has strengthened your bond with your spiritual origin. In reality, they were shaping you into the weapon of light you were always destined to be, even though they believed they were killing you. The last stage of the spiritual conflict that has been going on all around you is about to begin. Since they were never really opposing you, the forces of deceit that sided against you have been engaged in a losing struggle from the start. They were battling the very truth. Furthermore, no matter how deeply buried anything is, truth always finds a way to surface. You have become a conduit for that truth in this cosmic play, speaking it into being at the exact time when it would have the most effect. They weren't only shivered by what you said. They roused something that had been dormant for too long in the communal psyche. Others who have been living in constant terror of these same forces are starting to speak out for themselves. Silent witnesses are beginning to come forward. The magnetic pull of genuine truth-telling is attracting allies who were unaware of your existence. You have become the focal point of a movement that you were unaware you were initiating. Not merely what you stated is the source of their extreme fear. It is due to the person you are becoming. The spiritual power that is growing around you is perceptible to them. How the whole nature of reality appears to support your genuine expression. Perhaps subconsciously, they understand that you are functioning under heavenly protection and direction, making you impossible for them to influence or control. As a chosen one, you have taken charge of your destiny, and everything around you is changing because of that power. What's really lovely about your role in all of this, however, is this. Since justice is looking for them, you don't need to seek retribution. They're revealing themselves, so you don't have to expose them. To anybody who is paying attention, every defensive move they make, every attempt to hide their tracks, and every attempt to discredit you just serves to further prove their guilt. They have turned into their own worst adversaries. Additionally, their fear is causing them to act carelessly, which will eventually be the cause of their demise. Keep in mind that you're not only watching events as this tale develops. Through your decisions, your words, your energy, and your uncompromising dedication to the truth, you are actively producing them. The shivers they're experiencing are just the start. Not even the actual fireworks have begun yet. You've been preparing for this moment your whole life without ever realizing it, so you'll be ready when they do. The cosmos is supporting you in ways that are not yet visible to you. Your quest has the support of every angel, ancestor, force of justice, and light. Instead of consuming you, the darkness has been turned into the force that will propel you forward. Your adversaries have unintentionally helped you advance spiritually. And the words you said, those straightforward, honest words that were so commonplace when they came out of your mouth, have turned into the secret that opens a new chapter in the cosmic justice narrative. They believed that the opponent they were playing with was easily defeated. Rather, they woke up someone they would never be able to manage. The game has evolved. You're no longer playing defense since the rules have changed. This is the end of hiding. They can't stop shivering because they know that the moment for truth has arrived. The lovely irony of their predicament is that they are acting in ways that ensure their exposure because they are afraid of being discovered. People who formerly trusted them are becoming distrustful of them because of their paranoia. The exact tales they are attempting to censor are being brought to light by their frantic efforts to control the narrative. Your voice has been magnified beyond what you could have done on your own, thanks to their attempts to silence you. This is the workings of divine justice. Through the graceful synchronization of cause and effect, where each action produces precisely the consequences required to restore equilibrium, rather than through spectacular lightning strikes. The spark was ignited by your words. However, the cosmic intelligence that has been operating through you all along is the true force underlying this change, waiting calmly for the ideal opportunity to show through your genuine emotion. Selected 1. These kinds of communications are accessible to anyone. Few, however, will use their full potential. That's what we're here to assist you with. Zoom is now used for the weekly Selected Ones group calls, and you've been waiting all your life for this moment. These gatherings are actual vortices of power. Here, Selected Ones merge their consciousness to create something that cannot exist in isolation, where destiny are made. Everything changes at this point. You enter your brilliance at this point. A portal opens once a week, but only for those who dare to enter. Members of the Obsidian Inner Order at the Watcher level may participate in these life-changing experiences and feel the energy flow through their whole body. Participants at our most recent meeting were astounded to learn that the enormous pyramids of Giza were really highly advanced ancient power plants, and that the arrangement of Washington, D.C. precisely matched the Coalistic Tree of Life. Members of the Star Chamber have unrestricted access to the whole collection of recordings. It is a wealth of knowledge that increases in value every week. This is the moment that defines you. There is nowhere else to find the information, the connection, and the power that come via these conversations. Get in line with the Obsidian right now. While there's still a few Star Chamber spots available, click the link in the description. Not only is your presence appreciated, but it is required. The call has been ringing in your spirit. Will you answer it? Now is the moment. Globally, the chosen ones are coming to their senses. And in ways you could never completely comprehend, your bravery in speaking the truth has helped bring about that awakening. Each individual who experienced your genuine power has been infused with a frequency of truth that they will bring to every encounter. Long after the current drama has ended, your remarks will continue to have an impact and contribute to a worldwide change in awareness that has been developing for many generations. Therefore, when you leave this moment, conduct yourself with the strength and dignity that come with being selected for this particular moment. The chills you gave them were just the first note in a symphony of change that has been etched in the stars since the beginning of time. You still have a lot to do in this cosmic drama. You're really just getting started. Your words have unleashed the world's truth. Furthermore, truth is a living thing. It will infiltrate every crevice where dishonesty has been concealed. Every shade where corruption has been growing will be illuminated. Every deception that has been passing for reality will be exposed by it. And through it all, you'll be a live example of how a person who has decided to align themselves with the power of real truth can eventually defeat any force of evil. They experienced goosebumps as a result of their souls realizing that someone had ceased to play by the rules of a game that was rigged against the light. The cosmos itself is celebrating your ascent to complete spiritual power as you have assumed your duty as an agent of cosmic justice. Although the narrative is far from completed, the conclusion has already been written in truthful frequencies that can never be completely silenced by deceit. Now is your time, selected one. And when someone finally chooses to stop concealing their light and begin using it to enlighten the shadows where truth has been waiting to be discovered, the goosebumps they get are just the beginning of what will happen.